Hi, I'm Tiffany. Welcome to Towering TBR. This is going to be my second week of the Amazing Readathon vlog. If you are not sure what I'm talking about, make sure you check out the first week, which I'll have in the description and in the cards. I am now on the prompt to travel to Sao Paulo, Brazil. The prompt is to read a book with 3 or more people on the cover, and I have chosen How Do You Live by Genzaburo Yoshino. This is a classic Japanese children's tale that has just recently been adapted by Miyazaki as his last film. And a lot of people said that it was really hard to market this because it's really hard to sum up. And I'm 76 pages in, and yes, it is hard to sum up. We're following a 15-year-old boy nicknamed Copper, and his father has died, and so his uncle is trying to kind of impart wisdom on him, try to help him figure out what it means to be a human and a good person. He's been very particular about choosing his friends. He decides he wants to hang out with a boy who is getting bullied at school. They call him Fried Tofu because he is poor and brings fried tofu for lunch every day. And he's also friends with another boy who sticks up for fried tofu and really shuts the bully down. And so he's picking these people to be his friends based on their good characteristics. There's a lot of science and philosophy talk, and they also talk about baseball quite a bit. Like they pretend to do like a radio show of a baseball game, and yeah, it's very hard to describe because it doesn't feel quite like a narrative. It feels sort of like these little stories with like life lessons attached to them, which, I mean, I guess that's why it's a classic, you know? We've got the morals. If I'm honest, I'm a little bit bored. I'm kind of hoping something happens that gets my interest a little bit more. But I will continue and read this because I want to see how it turns out. And just because it's not gripped me yet doesn't mean that I will hate it. The other reason I'm not DNFing it is worth 150 extra bonus points. Blue cover, translated, and a person of color wrote the book. So really don't want to give away those 150 points if I don't have to. And I don't really have another book that would be great for this. So I'm going to keep reading this. And then I am buddy reading with Chattie, and we are reading Julia and the Shark by Kiran Millwood Hargrave. This, unfortunately, is not going to count for the prompt because there was only one figure on it, but I'm reading it anyway because it was on my TBR and I wanted to. This is about 10-year-old Julia. She and her parents and their cat Noodle go to live on this tiny island where the father is updating the lighthouse and the mother is going out on boats to try and find the elusive Greenland shark. Julia has made a friend on the island, and together they talk about marine biology and astronomy, and it's really sweet. There is a kind of a building sense of dread. It starts out saying that this is the summer she lost mom, so I'm not sure if she's gonna die or if she's gonna lose her through some other, means. I'm nearly halfway, so if they drop another prompt that this will fit, I can use it, but if not, that's totally fine. It's not that long anyway. So that's my update. I will update you when we get another prompt. Hey, so it is day 2, and I have now reached Sao Paulo. Yay! I have finished How Do You Live by Genzaburo Yoshino. I think I'm going to give this 3 stars. This is basically a children's story focused on Copper, and he's growing up, going to school, and he has these chats with his uncle in which the uncle tries to impart wisdom on how to be a good person, a good human, that kind of thing. It focuses on a lot of subjects: math, science, history, philosophy, religion, all sorts really, and learning from your mistakes, using your regrets to learn and grow and become a better person. I would say that if I had read this as a kid or maybe even a teen, this would have been more impactful, but I already knew a lot of these lessons, and therefore it didn't have as big an impact on me. At one point, the uncle talks about consumers and producers and how it's bad to only be a consumer and to not produce anything. And unfortunately, I found that a little bit ableist, putting value on what you're able to produce rather than just who you are as a person. I didn't like that. This was written in 1937, though, so it's not surprising. At the end, there is a note from the translator that talks about how this author was actually a political prisoner in Japan. He was criticizing the government, and they had outlawed that. And so basically he came up with this book as a way to kind of help the youth learn to think critically, learn to be a good member of society, and to help move things forward. Overall, a good lesson, but I found myself bored a fair amount of the time, so I'm giving it a generous 3 stars. This was 280 pages, and I get a bonus for blue, for translated, and for the author being a person of color. So that adds 430 points. Yay! I did want to mention I am almost all the way through Julia and the Shark. I have probably about 30 or 40 more pages, and I probably would have finished it if I wasn't buddy reading it. But this is really good. We're finding out that Julia's mom has some mental health issues, and she needs some help during this time, and Julia is very confused, and I think that this is a very age-appropriate way to talk about mental illness, and definitely enjoying the story. Everybody says that it'll make you cry, and I haven't cried yet, but we still got the end, so we'll see. This is not going to count towards anything, but I'm reading it anyways because it was on my TBR and because I'm buddy reading it with a friend. So, the next prompt was we're headed to London. We are to read a retelling of a classic story. Now, I hate retellings, Demon Copperhead being one very exception. But I have decided I'm going to read Thistlefoot, which is a retelling of the Baba Yaga myth. It is the only book on my TBR that is a retelling that I'm actually excited to read. So I have checked that out of the library, hoping to get the audiobook as well, but I'm currently in line for it. I have been in such a mood for Japanese stuff. My husband and I are watching the anime Erased, and it is just so good. Time travel shenanigans. I love it. Maybe I'll add a clip of it so you can see. But I think maybe I have now gotten my fill. There is going to be a face-off weekend this weekend. And I know it matters how many books you read, but I don't know any of the other rules. I don't know if there are still bonuses for Team Color or if it's just kind of a free-for-all. So when I learn about that, I will let you know. And yeah, gonna get started on Thistlefoot, and I'll update you when I read more. Hi, it's day 4, and I have just now made it to London. The prompt was to read a retelling of a classic story, and I read on my Kindle Thistlefoot, which is a classic retelling of a Baba Yaga story. So in Thistlefoot, we follow these 2 siblings, Isaac and Belladine, and they get a mysterious inheritance. And what they find out is they have inherited a house with chicken legs. And this house kind of has like its own personality, its own stories. It's very cool. And Isaac has been on his own for quite a long time. So he decides that he wants to basically use the house as a touring company, and he and his sister will put on puppet shows like they did when they were children, and that after a year, all of the financial proceeds from the puppet show will go to him, and she can have the house. That doesn't go according to plan because once the house is in their property, the Shadow Man comes hunting for them. And he is like the ultimate villain. He just preys on people's fears. He believes in eugenics and racial purity and all sorts of really negative stuff. So not only do we get perspectives from both Bellatine and Isaac, but we also get a perspective from the house and what happened all those many years ago and why the house has been hidden away for so long. It was a thrilling ride. I didn't know the tale of Baba Yaga well enough to predict where the story was going, and so it felt pretty fresh to me. I really enjoyed it, and I found the ending to be really fulfilling and satisfactory. And the themes and the messages that we need to remember the stories and the horrors and traumas that have happened to people and learn from that, not make those same mistakes and to grow, like, felt especially prescient right now with Nazism rising not only in the United States, but in other areas as well. It feels like we have forgotten our history. And yeah, so this book was really good. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. There was nothing about it that I didn't really like, but for whatever reason, it just didn't hit the 5-star mark for me. So I flew to London with the plane, which is a 2 times doubler, and I read 433 pages, which makes the points 866 points. Unfortunately, no bonuses. Now that I've done that, the Face-Off weekend is coming in just a few short hours. Face-Off is quite different than the rest of the readathon. For the 48 hours that Face-Off is going, we will spin a spinner, and I will insert that here. I got Sweden, and so my first book that I'm going to be reading has to have blue and yellow on the cover, similar to the colors in Sweden's flag, which are blue and yellow, which I also knew because I watched Eurovision this year. I am choosing to read My Evil Mother by Margaret Atwood. It's a very, very short story. Audible says it's about 45 minutes, so that's pretty good. And then I will spin again and get another one. For every book that we read during these 48 hours, we get 500 points, and the team with the most amount of points at the end of Face-Off gets 500 GRC, or as I've been calling them, dollars. And the losing team, the team in 5th place, will only get $100, and all of the ones in the middle will correspond to their place. So I am really, really hoping that I can read a lot and get our team ahead. I have a huge stack here of some graphic novels so that hopefully I can match the colors of the flags for whichever ones I draw next. And yeah, I'm hoping to get a lot of reading done this weekend. My husband has a video game he's very excited about, so he will be occupied doing that. I will be occupied reading my little heart out. Probably be vlogging more this weekend because as soon as I finish, I will respin. I will get another flag, which colors need to be on the cover of my next read. Hey, so it is day 5, and we are in the thick of the Face-Off weekend, which is very exciting. I keep checking the Discord, and so many people have already submitted so many books. So I think I told you last night that I did my first spin, and I got Sweden. So I had to have a book that had blue and yellow on the cover. So I read My Evil Mother by Margaret Atwood. It's a short story about a woman and her relationship with her daughter. The daughter is growing up in the 1950s, and she doesn't have a dad in the picture. And that causes a lot of speculation as to what's going on. And her mother says that she's a witch, that she has all of these delusions. I'm not sure if she like really believes in it or if it's just like her quirky personality. But like, for example, she tells her daughter to burn her hair that comes out into her hairbrush so that nobody can use it to target a spell on her. And when she asks, what happened to her dad, she's like, oh, I turned him into the garden gnome. And she would even be like, oh, go ask your father. And the little girl would, go ask the gnome if she could have some ice cream or whatever. And it was a really fraught relationship because her mother was not honest with her a lot of times. And that led to some times where she just didn't want to communicate with her mom. Overall, I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. I kind of wish it was a whole long story because the characters were really interesting. But I'm glad it was short because then I was able to spin again. So I did the second spin last night and I got Romania. So I picked up Bug Boys, this graphic novel for Romania. It had to have 3 colors. I can't remember off the top of my head, but this has like all of the colors. So it worked nicely. And this was just so cute. It's about these 2 friends, Stag Bee and Rhino Bee. They're beetles, and they kind of go on adventures. And as you'll see, I tabbed the crap out of it because it was just so cute. There's a point where one of the beetles falls off whilst in the library, and they're like, careful, these books are fragile. And she's like, you care more about the books than you do me? And I was like, yeah. There's a really cute moment where they challenge gender stereotypes. He says, you sure cry a lot for a boy. And he says, who cares if I'm a boy or not? I'll never see my friend again. And yeah, this was just adorable. The spider is in charge of the library, and she goes into humans' homes. They're called giants in the story. And she notes down their literature so that she can then transcribe it for the bugs. And I wrote, I would be so much nicer to spiders if that's what they were doing. They just want to, copy down some books. So this was adorable. I loved it. It's going to get 5 stars. That's how cute it was. So I spun again. And this time I got Hungry, whose flag colors are green, white, and red. And for that, I am going with Pilu and the Woods, a graphic novel. And it's about friendship as well. I am here for all of the wholesome friendship stories. So I'm a little bit behind. So many people have already submitted so many books. But, I needed to sleep. So gonna get on it and I will give you updates. And hopefully, I'm hoping to aim for 6 to 8 books this weekend. So on book number 3. I'll check in when I'm done. Okay, so I have finished Pilu in the Woods. This was adorable. I will input some of the art because the art really blew me away. This was a really sweet story about Willow. She has lost her mom and is really sad and has been kind of bullied at school because she keeps crying. And it's all about her going out into the woods, and she meets this tree spirit, Pilu, and both are feeling quite lonely, and they talk about like these little monsters that are in their heads that are basically like their impulse to do mean things, lashing out when they're hurt, and just, it was so wholesome and sweet and lovely, and the art was gorgeous. I think this is the only graphic novel that this artist has published, but her art is stunning, and I will pick up whatever she does next. So that was very cool. So I spun again. 4th spin, I got Bulgaria, which is actually the same colors as Hungry. So I'm looking for a green, white, and red cover. I'm going to read John Scalzi's short book. I'll put in the title on the screen, but this is one of the Amazon shorts, and I'm really excited But before I start that, Bree has posted her vlog, so I will be watching that and hopefully trying to glean where all of the teams are. So I will come back to you when I am done with my book. So for that, I picked Slow Time Between the Stars, which is an Amazon short story written by John Scalzi. I don't know what I'm going to rate this yet. I still need to kind of ponder. It was about this AI that humans put out in space to explore and maybe find other habitable planets, and it was kind of boring for a while, but there was this line, basically this paragraph, that really spoke to me, and I wanted to share it. So it says, and this is from the perspective of the AI, "Humans get bored in moments without stimulation, or with stimulation without enough variety. Stimulation that doesn't please them. The absence of stimulation, even for a few moments, can send their brains into a panic and cause them to generate stimulation where there is none. This is, I imagine, why they fear death so much as they do. An eternity of nothing is an unceasing nightmare for such novelty-seeking creatures." And I just thought, what a really profound way to sum up why death can be so scary for humans. And yeah, I liked it. It was very short. I have now done the spinner again, and you'll see I have spun Sweden again. This is the second time I've gotten Sweden. And for this, I'm going to be reading the graphic novel Thirsty Mermaids by Kat Lee. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I've read one of her other graphic novels, Snapdragon, and really loved it. So I'm hoping that this one will be good as well. I also was able to watch Bree's first vlog. I didn't find any hints in there, but it was fun getting to see what she was picking for each of the prompts, and, you know, having the advantage of knowing when she was dropping the next prompt so she could squeeze in as many books as possible. So she did not read for Blue Team yet, but, you know, there's time. So yeah, I am really enjoying this. This has been so much fun, and I'm knocking quite a few books off of my TBR, which is always wonderful. I've seen people that are picking up children's books just to get through a lot of books, and the competitive part of me wants to kind of do the same. And I'm like, no, you have so many books on your TBR. I really should focus on things that are already on my TBR. So graphic novels has been the way to go for me. So I do have this book. It's a middle grade chapter book. It's about 260 pages, and it has so many colors on it. So if I get Portugal, which has 5 colors on the flag, I'm kind of holding out for this one, just in case. So per the rules, if I get Sweden again, I can choose to skip it. But since Sweden only has 2 colors on their flag, it is one of the easier prompts. So if I get Sweden again, I will probably just find another book that has blue and yellow on it. I think I'm going to pause and go have some lunch and then get back to the reading. So I'll take you along with me. Okay, so this is going to be my last clip for today. I started reading Thirsty Mermaids, and I quit pretty early on, I think around chapter 3. I was just not vibing with this. This is about 3 mermaids who want to get drunk, and they've run out of wine in the shipwrecks, and so they magic themselves to be humans and go get wasted, basically, and then have to learn how to live as a human because they don't understand how to undo the spell. The art was not to my liking, and the story just was bleh. So I DNF'd that, and smartly, or not so smartly, decided to pick up Whalefall, a book I was eagerly excited for that is 336 pages. So not exactly short, but I have just finished it. It was meh. It's about this boy who his father died in the ocean, and as kind of a penance to make up for their rocky relationship, he decides he's going to go and try and find his father's skeleton or his bones. And in the process, he gets swallowed by a whale and he has to escape. And it is incredibly gory. And then there's lots of flashbacks on his relationship with his family. And I think I'm going to give it like a 2.5. It was good, but like I probably wouldn't have kept reading if I didn't need to get another prompt. I probably would have set it down for a while. So I have spun now for a 6th time, and I have decided, I got hungry, so the colors are green, white, and red, and I'm going to be picking up Can't We Talk About Something More Pleasant by Roz Chast. This is a graphic memoir, and we've got red, white, and green. So I will be starting this tomorrow, and I will let you know how it goes. This is the 2nd time I have rolled Hungry, and so if I get it again, I will re-roll, because both Hungry and I think it's Romania have the same colors, and so I feel like I'm kind of doing the same prompt a lot. We are supposed to be getting a lot of storms, so that may impact how much I'm able to read tomorrow. Hopefully I will not feel terrible, but storms trigger migraines, so probably not going to have as successful a reading day. I submitted 5 books, and at 500 points each, that's 2,500. And I'm pretty proud of that. There's people in the chat that are submitting 10 and 12 and 14 books, but I'm having fun. I am a little bit burnt out, so I'm going to probably go find something else to do until tomorrow. Today is day 7, the last day of this vlog. Like I said, we definitely got some storms yesterday, and I was not in the mood to film. So the last face-off book that I finished was Can't We Talk About Something More Pleasant by Roz Chast. This is her graphic memoir about dealing with her aging parents as they require more hospital visits and as they require more care in nursing homes and the like, what it's like for them to pass. The title comes from the fact that her parents didn't ever want to discuss death or a time where they can't take care of themselves. And I definitely felt uncomfortable with some of these topics as well. It can be anxiety-provoking to think about having your loved ones go through tremendous amounts of pain or, slipping away, not being themselves any longer. Her father had dementia at the end, and she writes really honestly. Like, this isn't, I'm the perfect daughter and look at all these things I did for my parents. A lot of the times her parents really annoyed her or even they had really negative relationships. And she was really honest about that. She was also really honest about the financial impacts that, end-of-life care costs. And yeah, I thought that this was really quite eye-opening, and I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 4 stars because I think the art style is not to my liking. And on some pages, there's a lot more words than there are pictures, which when that happens, I'm like, why did you choose a graphic medium when an actual book might have been the better choice? But I did want to share one of the pages that I found a bit amusing. She was talking about her dad as he's, in his 90s. She's like, he was bad at opening packages like cookies or cereal. You could always tell which ones he had tried to open because they were always torn in some strange way, as if a raccoon had tried to get into them. And I thought, that's pretty funny. See if you can see those pictures. So this was the 6th book that I submitted for Face Off. And we found out the results. Blue team got 2nd place, which means we get 400 GRC to add to our bank for, future travels. Red team got 1st, which surprised me that any team read more than blue because we had some people reading like 20, 30, 40 books even during the face-off 2 days. So, wow, good job, red team. and I'm really happy of where we are as well. So after Face Off ended, we got our next prompt. We are going to Rome, and the prompt is to read a book with a romance in it. And Bree clarified that this does not have to be a romance book, but has to have like a romance subplot at least. If you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you will realize that romance is probably my least read genre, maybe tied with horror. They are genres I don't pick up very much. And so I appealed to the blue team and asked for recommendations. And I was recommended One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This is a sapphic romance about a woman who meets another woman on the subway train and kind of fall for each other. But there's some sort of time travel element. Like, I think the woman is actually living in the 70s, whereas the other woman is in 2019. So, not sure how that's going to work out. I read the first 50 pages last night, and it's fine so far. It has made me laugh, which was nice. The other book that I'm hoping to read for this, if I have the time, is Last Stop at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. As you can see, it is primarily blue, a very dark blue. And Melinda Lowe is an author of color, so it would give me more points. However, this is a historical fiction, and after reading 6 books this past weekend, I was not ready to start a historical fiction. So this will be my sightseeing book if I have time to get to it. And yeah, I guess you're going to have to hear how the romance goes in week 3, because this is going to be my last clip. This has been so much fun. I'm really excited about taking part in this readathon. There are some people who are trying to do the Aurelian Magical Readathon as well, and before this August, I had always been participating in that, but yeah, this readathon is too chaotic to try and do other readathons with. Let me know if you are participating in this readathon and how you're doing, and if you're not in this readathon, just let me know what you're reading. I'm always curious to know. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.